In this video, we're going to go over how to install Claude Code on your computer, even if you are not a coder and have zero technical ability. This is going to unlock a whole new level and a bunch of powerful features inside Claude. Let's get into it. All right, so lately I have been diving into Claude Code. I'm not a coder. I'm not planning on building apps, but I did start to get curious about Claude Code after I saw a couple of videos using it in really interesting, creative ways. But it took me a second to figure out how to install it because I'm not a coder and I don't use terminal really that often. And there really weren't any good videos about how to set it up from like zero. So that's what I want to cover in this video. But before I get into how to install it, there are two things that sort of become confusing, or as I've been talking to people. One is I've mentioned to people that I've started to use Claude Code on my computer and it's controlling files and stuff. And then they're like, wait, Claude Code's a separate app. Yes, the Claude Code we're going to cover today is a separate thing that runs inside terminal on your Mac. It could also run on PC. I'm less familiar with that, and this tutorial is just going to be about using it on a Mac. And in other videos I've seen, it just works really well on a Mac. It is a separate app. Yes, you can code inside Claude, the web portal. It can build little applets like we could see here, but there's very limited with what it could do because it's sort of operating in a sandbox. The other thing is if you go and search for Claude Code and you go to Anthropic's landing page, it makes it sound like you need to have a max plan, which is Claude's $100 to $200 a month plan. You don't need to have that. You just need to have any paid Claude plan for this to work. There are some differences. And if I scroll down here, you do see, oh, in fact, it does work on every plan. You could use it on Pro, their $17 or $20 a month plan. The one thing, though, is you'll only have access to Claude Sonnet in Claude Code. You could still use Opus on the web portal, but you only have access to using Sonnet in Claude Code in terminal. If you upgrade to any of the max plans, you'll have access to all of the models, including Claude Opus, which is their bigger model, more powerful model, can take a bigger context window, and you can do more stuff with it. And also you just get more usage. The alternate too is you could also run this off of an API. You can go to Claude, sign up for an API, and you'll give it the API code, which we'll go over how you set that up in a second. And it'll just charge per usage as much as you use it. So that's the other option. Okay, now that we got those two things covered, let's go over how to install it. So to install it is actually pretty easy, but you might need to have something installed beforehand. And if you've never done anything with terminal, there's a good chance you don't have it installed on your computer. If I try to run the code, the install code here, which is their preferred method, it will say command not found. It doesn't have command npm. So you have to make sure node.js is installed. So click on node.js, then download and run the installer. And now if I go back to terminal and run the install command again, I still get an error. That's because I need admin privileges to install this. So just type sudo before the command, and that will run it as an admin. It will ask for your password. You type in your password, and then it will install successfully. Now what I'm going to do is basically the way Claude Code works is you point it to a folder, and then Claude Code sort of uses that as its home base folder, and we'll go over permission and stuff. But basically it works out of that folder, and it will add files there, working files, Claude document file there. It'll basically use that as a working folder, but you want to designate what folder it should go in, and you can have multiple projects in different folders. And as long as you start up from that same folder, again, it will remember the context of the conversation and that project related to that folder. And then if you launch another project in another folder, it'll have that same persistent memory. So even when you quit out and come back in, when you run it from the same folder, it will remember what happened in that folder. So here, I'm gonna just go to a folder on my computer and make a new folder called Claude Code Project, and then come back here into terminal, and then I'm gonna type cd, which is for change directory. And then you're gonna type the path. I don't like typing paths. The easier way is you just drag the folder in here and it types the path for you. And then I hit enter. And so now you can see here at the beginning, it tells me what I'm now not at my root directory. I'm in this folder directory. And then you just type the word Claude. And that is how you start up Claude. And so because this is the first time I'm running it here, it's going to ask me for some initial setup info and to log into my account. Let me just make this a little bit nicer. And then also let me open this folder here too, so you can see this is the folder that this instance of Claude Code is running in. And so you can pick what mode you want for how you want it to display. I'm in dark mode, so I'll leave it at dark. All right, now we're in Claude Code, and then it will ask how you want to authenticate. So you can either log in with your Claude account, or you could use that API key, and it'll just keep billing you per usage, which I mentioned before. I didn't do the math, but I believe having a subscription to Claude Code is probably the more financially beneficial option. And then because I'm already logged into Claude on my computer, I'm just gonna, it already knew I'm logged in. So now I'm just saying authorize, and then I'm back to terminal, press enter, and good to go. We're in, gives you some warnings. You are giving this thing access to your computer, so use that with caution. But it does ask you for permission to do anything every step of the way, and so we'll see that in a little bit. Use the recommended settings, yes. And then I'm in this new Claude Code project, and do I trust files in this project? And so a lot of the stuff too is also, this is coming from a coding perspective, so you would put this in your coding project file and it would work and integrate with your other coding tools and libraries and stuff that I don't know the lingo for. So there is going to be a lot of like coding centric uses, but you don't have to use this at all for coding. It could be used for a bunch of other things. But anyways, yes, we know this folder, we're going to give it permission. All right, and now welcome to Claude Code. So I mean, even from the start, you can just do basic stuff because we're in a computer, say like make a new text file called hello world. And then every time it does something, it'll ask you for permission. And you could say, yes, you give it permission for this step. And then every time it wants to do something else, it'll ask again. You can say yes for this session only, or you can say yes, always say OK for this project. So I'm going to say, yeah, for this project, sure, yes, OK. OK, and it made a new text file called hello world. That was a very basic example. One thing that you can do, and I didn't realize this at first, is you can create a document that tells Claude the context of this project so that it always sort of has more of a customized persistent memory. The way you can easily do this is, so / loads up command options, and then you can say init for initializing a new claude.md file with code-based documentation. We're not using it for code basing, but it will start and create a file. Claude works with MD files, which are markdown files. They're basically a text version of a file. You can open them in any basic text editor. They just have certain markdown language to just denote like headings and links and stuff, but it's very human readable. So it's building out the initial doc. And so you can see here claude.md. So the Claude document, it will use it as sort of the chat or model instructions for the context of its entire, anytime you interact with it. So this is a very basic template that it came out with, but you can do something where you could say, update the claude.md file to give it more training context that it's going to be a writer to help write YouTube scripts for the YouTube channel VP Land. My voice to text did not work the best in this case, and now I got to backtrack all the way over here. And that is the annoying thing about Terminal. It's not the greatest text editor. But the other thing too you could do here, because we're in a folder, is if you do you can tag specific files. I found it's pretty good at understanding. If you just say the Claude file, it'll know what you're talking about. But if you want to get really specific, or if you have a bunch of files, you can tag a specific file. But basically, this is a Claude interface. This is like a regular Claude that can just do more stuff. But this is the same exact Claude as if you were talking on the website. It can just now do things on your computer. It can strategize how to handle things first and then execute on them. And so now here you can see the Claude MD file. We can open this with any text editor. And so it just gives it more context of what the chat should be about. And you could just come in here and edit this yourself, or add more context, add more rules, add formats of what things should do, where files should go, anything you want. But this is like a recurring, so it's a more customized Claude experience every time you are interacting with the chat here. Now, I don't want to get into too many specifics of like use cases because I'm still working on some projects and I'll have separate videos for that. But a few other things to keep in mind. Generally, the way that it works, because it's also sort of for coding, is you say, oh, I want to build out this thing, or I want to write a script, or I want to do this thing. Claude has sort of two modes. And so you can see on the bottom here, it says accept edits are on. If I say Shift Tab, now it's on plan mode. So now it'll think, if I ask it, like, I want to create a script about the history of cinematography, how should I outline this? I'm in plan mode, so now it is going to think about it, but it's not going to do any action. And in this case, it wouldn't be the biggest deal if it did some action. But if you were writing a script, or if you're working on a script like in an actual document, and you want to do some modifications, if it had action mode on, if you were still in the like, let me think about this, or how do we strategize about this, it might start making changes that you weren't ready for yet. With plan mode, it will strategize, it will sort of think about what it should do, and then it'll run that plan by you before it does any action. And then you could say, yes, cool, go do that. Or you could say no, key modifying. So here, we're in a box, here's Claude's plan, create a new markdown file, write the full script. See, maybe I didn't want a script, maybe I just wanted the outline. So I could say, no, I just want an outline right now, no full script. Okay, so I actually put the outline right here. But if I told it like, okay, great, now create a document with this outline and start writing out the full script. Plan mode's still on. And then now it's saying, okay, I'm going to do this. Are you ready? And I could say yes and auto accept all the edits, or yes, and then I want to manually prove every change, or no, keep modifying. So I'm just going to say yes and let it go. So while this thing's going, I will say this is the other advantage to thing that I found pretty cool with Claude Code is it builds out a checklist of like things it knows it should do, and then it starts working on them. But you can see it's a pretty big checklist where it's like writing out all 6 sections of the script. I don't know what the quality of the script's going to be like or the accuracy, but this is way more output than, in my experience, you would normally get using the web interface. You will be using more credits, and I'm on the max $100 level plan. It will start giving you a warning if you're approaching credit-ish limits. I'm going to show you a trick in a second that will help minimize credits with a new feature that they just came out with. But while this is going, let me talk about a few other things with Claude Code. It can access the web, and I'll show that in a second. So you can give it URLs. You can ask it to research stuff. It can access the web and look for stuff. You can connect it to MCPs. That's a whole other separate thing, and I'm just dabbling with that. But it's basically, I'm using Zapier's MCP server, but it is like a way for Claude to interact with other websites, sort of like an API. But basically, I could give it access to Gmail or Google Docs, and then ask it queries like, hey, what documents do I have about this thing? Or like, oh, go add this text to a new Google Drive file or Google Doc file. And it could access my Google Docs through MCP servers and kind of create more things. We can see here, it says it created our script, introduction, chapter 2. So I'm not really going to check the quality of this, but you can see that it did the thing that it was going to do. And that was more an example of like the planning mode versus the editing mode. The thing that just came out that could help save how your credits work is if you / and then go to model. And this is how you can pick what model Claude Code defaults to using. So default is it's going to use, I'm on the max plan. If you were on the regular pro plan, you're only going to see Sonnet here. It's not going to give you any other options. But because I'm on max and I could have access to the other models, the default is it's using Opus 4.1, their latest, biggest model, for up to 20% of usage limits, and then it'll switch to Sonnet 4. What I have switched to on my other computers, and this just came out this week, is Opus plan mode. So basically it'll use Opus, their bigger, more powerful model, for planning and thinking and strategizing what it should do. And then it'll use Sonnet, the smaller, lighter weight, and cheaper model, to actually execute on the tasks, which should be plenty. So you want Opus to kind of think about how to do all this stuff and take in more context. But then you just need a lighter weight model to actually do this stuff. So I would recommend switching to that. And that should help save on credit usage and kind of get more mileage out of work that you're doing. And then there are also ways to create templates and commands that you can kind of recur and use. I'll cover that in another video because you sort of have to go into some hidden folders to set that up. But the other cool thing that you could do with Claude Code that I just found out about is you could run sub-agents. So you could basically run multiple tasks at the same time without having to like launch multiple windows or wait to something to finish. Let's say I wanted to do a research doc or something on a couple of different cameras. Run 3 sub-agents simultaneously, researching the quality of the latest cinema cameras from Blackmagic, from Ari, and from Red. And so you'll see from that language, it says, I'll launch 3 agents simultaneously to research the latest cinema cameras. And now it is starting 3 separate tasks, researching Blackmagic, Ari, and Red. And it's asking, this is the first time I'm running this. It's asking if I want to give it permission to access the web to research this. And I'm just going to say yes and don't ask again for web search commands. All right, and also while that's running, you can upload files to this as well. You could drag and upload files into the terminal window. You could also add files to your working folder and then just reference those files with the @ sign like I showed earlier inside Claude Code, and it can upload and read those files. This is the one thing I'll say, we're not vibe coding, but when I have been vibe coding, it's sort of the weird thing where it's like, well, it's not enough time to go do something else, but you're just kind of waiting for the thing to do its thing. But also, I mean, this is pretty cool where you just let this thing run. It's already going for 3 minutes, 160 seconds, almost 3 minutes. And, just kind of release it and let it do its thing, which you can't really do inside the web interface. Is going to do much shorter response times and come back with something which maybe not as thorough or in depth as you want. It looks like it is finishing up. And now also this was a pretty weak prompt. I didn't really clarify what I wanted to look at, how I wanted it to display the information, but you could be like, put it in a comparison table, compare these specs, research this information. The main thing here, and yeah, because I didn't say put it in a document, it just is giving me the outputs here. Yeah, it seems like it pulled out the gist of the information. It's probably saved the research in its memory, so I probably could have a more thorough document come out. But the point of that I wanted to get with that example more so was that you could run multiple tasks or sub-agents at the same time and have it do multiple things at the same time. And that also it could access the web and do research from the web. It was just a bad prompt that I gave it where it didn't actually put this information into a useful research document. But anyways, this is sort of a start. The main point of this video was just to show how to get it up and running and installed, because I had a little trouble finding some just easy tutorials that cover the basics. And this last part was a couple things that I've been messing around and learning with using Claude in non-coding senses. But I'm going to do some more videos in the future of like how I've been able to find more practical use cases for this. But I've been having a lot of fun messing with this. It feels very cool and very powerful with what it can do and unlock a lot of possibilities. If you've been using Claude Code for stuff that is not coding, I would love to hear about it, so let me know in the comments below. And also, if you have any use cases or any problems you've been trying to figure out with AI that you haven't been able to solve yet, maybe we can figure something out. So also let me know in the comments if you've been trying to find use cases that haven't worked out yet. Either way, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next episode.